Welcome to Court of the Dead Mourners Call from Sideshow Collectibles and Project Raygun. Here we've got an area control, resource management, secret objective, drafting board game. Death, the All-Taker, is looking for a mourner who can lead his factions to victory against heaven and hell. So first up, we've got to appease the celestial gods, and we do that with Etheria. Our Etheria is also our fuel for the game and how we're able to do a lot of the actions that we want to do. Wallow's cards are passed out next. They're like per round objectives, little side quests put you on to help you get an extra little bump in the resources. There's different types of Wallow cards. There's events, sometimes there's raker attacks, sometimes there's artifacts that you can obtain. Sometimes they're going to be very difficult to get, but could give you long-lasting effects. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be dealt 3 secret objectives, one for each spirit, flesh, and bone faction. These are going to be your secret objectives that give you extra points at the end of the game. You'll choose that secretly, put it face down, and then everyone will reveal their faction at the same time. Now on to the court drafting phase. There's 17 court cards. In a 4-player game, everyone will receive 3 cards. So during the draft phase, you'll get 3, and then you'll choose one to keep, you'll pass the rest to the left, and then the other players will pass you 2. It's just like the draft from, say, like the 7 Wonders. And then from those 2, you'll choose, like, all right, and then you'll be passed your last card from another player. This will form your court card hand for the round. Action phase is really where the meat of the game's at. This is where you're going to have multiple options to do a lot of different things. You can play one of those court cards from your hand. You can recruit a guild figure for 3 Etheria. Or you could spend 5 Etheria and also get a Mourner card. You can activate one of your Mourner cards using the action that's available to them and their ability. Or you can strategically pass. You might be out of actions and out of fuel and you're done for the round. Next, Dread's Grip threat. Let's check that meter and see if there's any areas that have too many figures and might be corrupt. If a location has more figures than the Dread Script threat allows, each character must roll a die to see if they are affected by the penalty. Next up, we have to pay the Celestial Tie. Every player is going to pull their Etheria off their player board and secretly choose how much they want to put in. During the round, the Deathforge may have gotten some Etheria in it, so there could be some there as a base. You'll check your meter over here. It's the amount of players plus where the track is at. So in this case, we have a 4-player game plus 5. The team has to put in 9 Etheria together. So there may only be, let's just say, 4 in the Deathforge. That means between the 4 players, they need to come up with 5, or the penalty will kick in, which kicks the tracks, both tracks up 2 spots. Very, very bad. Each player will pull that Etheria off their player board and then choose secretly how much they plan to put in. Now, strategically, you want to be the player who puts in the most because you get 3 Unity tokens. Everyone else will get 1. If you don't put in any Etheria, you lose faction influence, and you don't get a Unity token, which are one of the things that win you the game. Next, we resolve locations and guilds. In each location, you'll go around the board and determine which one has the most influence in each area. If you have the control of that area, you'll get the bonus that's associated with that location. So like Valen Gates would move the Dread Script down 1, would add 1 of any influence to your player board, 1 Unity token, and the Celestial Tithe would go up 1 as well. Each guild location also has a bonus effect if you have the most control. Tithes do not award anyone the reward. If you do have control though, you will also get the benefit of that type. You will set out a certain amount of Unity based on how many players there are in the game. This is like a timer for the game. As these are taken from actions during the round, the pile will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and when it's completely empty, that triggers the last round of the game. So typically most games last 3, but they can sometimes even go as short as 2 rounds and sometimes go as long as 4. You essentially have 3 areas that you're going to score points. All of your Unity tokens, the amount of influence that you have in each faction on your player board, and then your secret objective. Let's take a closer look at our player boards and really get into the meat of how this game works. On your player board, you're going to see you have the 3 different influence tracks. At the end of the game, you're going to score points for how high up the track you get each faction. So if you can get multiple factions into different areas, in this case, your spirit will be worth 10, your bone will be 6, and flesh will be worth 3. That's 19 points just on that, from that influence. Here's where you'll store your Etheria. Here's your crypt. As you recruit figures, they'll come into your crypt, and from your crypt, then they move on to the board. Your Unity tokens will be stored here. Hopefully you'll have a lot of those. And then here's where you will flip over the faction that you align yourself to with your secret objective. Each player has trackers. These are used to go on to the guilds to track your influence there. As you build out your Mourner card tableau, this is going to give you more actions to execute during the round. Here you'll see that the Shepherds of Ash, anytime you reduce the dread script threat, you're going to gain a spirit. The right sheet also gives you, during the cleanup phase, to gain 2 flesh influence. Madame Avestia, she allows you to recruit guild figures at only 2 Etheria instead of 3. That is a huge advantage and will drive a lot of the things that you're going to want to do during the game. Now, there are a lot of options. There are a ton of Mourner cards. This is just the Bone faction stack. So you're going to have a lot of variable powers each game that's different, and it's going to drive the way that you build out your tableau. During the round, your turn options are going to be play one of your 3 court cards, recruit a guild figure for 3 Etheria, or a Mourner card that accompanies a guild figure, relocate guild figures by paying 1 influence per location. You can activate one of your Mourner cards and use their action. You do that by flipping that over and putting it face down. Or you can pass. In the case of having a Oglaville, you may want to wait and pass even when other players you know are still going to have turns. You want to see what shakes out in a specific location before you execute, say, his power that allows you to select any figure, spend 1 influence of that type, and return it to the supply. One thing that's important to notice here is when you spend the 5 Etheria to recruit a Mourner card, you're going to draw 2 of the type that you want, and then you're going to pick the one that you want. So in this case, let's say I was going after Bone, I picked these 2. You see here, I also get the figure associated with that type. So now, if it depends on where my influence is at, I may want to get a Mortis Knighthood instead of a Council of Ostomancy. It just depends on also the power. You have multiple things to think about. The power that comes with the Mourner card, and the figure that's going to give you influence in that guild faction. I want to take a second and talk about the court cards, because I feel like this is another, between your Mourner card tableau that you've built out and your the court cards, this is going to be one of the most important and most strategic parts of the game. So Death, he gives you 1 of each influence, and you'll take his figure for that tie break. Cleopsis, she allows you to steal 2 of any type of influence, but she does push up the dread script, or you have the option of just gaining a unity with 1 celestial. So Zyal is the leader of the Bone faction, and she's going to give you, for 1 Bone influence, a whole Mourner card and that figure. Super powerful. She also has a secondary situation where she can gain unity. You may complete 1 additional action this turn. These are so strategic if you can pull them off well. Kayla Kill. She's going to have to sacrifice 2 influence, but she's going to also get a unity and remove a dread script threat. You may complete 1 additional action this turn, or she can just get 2 spirit influence. Galavarb. She can complete a movement without a cost. This is very strategic, especially toward the end of the game, when you might you don't want to really give up that influence, because it might move you from 1 scoring situation to a next, which is 4 points. That could be a lot. Or she can just get you 2 flesh. Shard is our mortal trespasser. We're not really sure how she got here yet. The narrative wise, we're not sure how there's a human here, but she is, and Death is recruiting her for some purpose. Those are her abilities. Mortigul, he is the Mortis Knight Captain. He's a really cool figure. He can give you 3 Etheria or just 2 Bone influence. Aragast is really cool. So this one is very strategic. You force another player to pay 2 Etheria to the Deathforge, which is good. It helps the end tithing at the end. And if you select another player, then you and that player get a unity. So yeah, you might thwart them, but hey, here's a unity for your troubles. If you do it yourself, you get 2 unity. Her other power is to spend 2 Etheria and to move the track down 2, but to gain 2 Spirit Influence. Melivestros, as I've discussed, he can move. You can move his figure to a location, which his figure is really awesome looking. Move his figure to a location and nullify its effect. Or you can deactivate any Mourner card's ability for the rest of the round once per opponent. Super strategic. Gethsemane, she is the Queen of the Dead, the leader of the Flesh faction. For 2 Etheria, you'll get a Flesh Mourner card, you'll steal a Flesh influence, and move the Dread script up 1. Her second ability is spend 1 and get a Flesh, and then just move 1 to a Flesh. So you can actually move another player's figure to the Cryptus Accord. Relic Rablach. He's really cool because you can look at the top 2 Wallows cards and choose one to keep, discard the other. Or, which I've seen used the most, is reveal the top 3 cards of the Wallows deck. You may put any one revealed artifact into play for your own benefit for the rest of the game. That is huge. So you can essentially mine the Wallows deck for artifacts, and artifacts typically have really powerful situations. Or he can just gain 2 of the Spirit. Eliantis is pretty cool. She is her and Kier are the kind of a co-split the leadership of the Spirit faction because they're so more whimsical than anything else. 1 Etheria will get you a Spirit Mourner card, a Dread script, and a Spirit token or influence. Here you can also get some of that good stuff. Oglavale, like I said, he's the Executioner. He's removing people from the board. You can spend 1 influence of the type that you're going to remove, and not even just return them to their owner, but completely remove them from the game. They're totally dead. So that's some of the things about the player board and the Mourners cards that I feel like really make this game strategic. The player that typically wins the game is the player that does the best job of diversifying the ways that they score points. Obviously, you gotta have some Unity tokens. That's up front, that's first most. Then from there, you gotta do a really good job of controlling the board and getting the things that benefit you the most in your strategy to score more points and to give you the most resources throughout the game. Then it is most definitely faction influence. You can score the majority of your points through those faction score tracks. So you're going to want to push that influence up as high as you can on 1, maybe even 2 tracks. From there, you're going to need to do well with your secret ulterior motive. That is something that you've been working on the entire game. You've had that in your back pocket. You've tried to manipulate the board, do what it asked you to do from the beginning, and if you can get that, pull that off with the Unity tokens and your influence, you can put together a really good score and win the game. One of the main things that I think most people are going to like, the dice are really a very low factor in the strategy. I've seen people ask, is there need for dice mitigation? No. The dice only come into play here and there. They're not a main driver of the game. They really just facilitate. There is tons of player interaction in Court of the Dead. You are going to be constantly looking at the other players' player boards, their cards, their Mourner tableau. You're going to be looking, where are they going on the board? Why are they moving where they're moving? What court card are they playing? It's amazing how much player interaction there is, and there's a little bit of backstabbing, a little bit of take that, but for the most part it's all in good fun, and it's what a good area control game should be. The Mourner cards provide so much replayability because you're going to be able to craft your engine differently every time you play the game. The different combinations of those cards mixed with the different court cards that you get and the way the board, the lay of the land, really makes for different gameplay each and every time. Most games, there's a theme that makes the game work. In this game, the theme is the game. Everything about this game is Court of the Dead. It's dripping with the narrative. From start to finish, every character is thematically thought out and executed in a rich and beautiful way. One of my favorite pieces is go take the faction quiz. See who you align with. I am of the Flesh faction. Gethsemane is my queen. And so I have found myself leaning toward that every time I pick out my secret ulterior motive to begin the game. I'm always leaning into Flesh because it's just like kind of like your house from Harry Potter. It's just who you are. And it's funny that when they kind of give you that Myers-Briggs back end of that, how close it is to your actual real personality. You know, bone's all about structure, flesh changes with the wind, and then spirits are kind of free and they do what they need to do to make things happen. It's really pretty interesting and fun. The two tracks really make for great interplay because as one moves up, the other goes down, and we're having to keep those push down together. If we let them top out, everyone takes penalties. So it really has a, I think the term is a meta co-op type of approach where we're definitely all against each other. It is not a cooperative game, but we do need to work together to keep these two tracks pushed down. And so the interactions and the actions that players take throughout the game really affect those meters and make for some great interactions amongst the players. This game is all about quick gameplay and fast turns. No one's going to be looking at their phone. They're not going to have time. If they do, they're going to miss, and it's going to be right back to them, and then they're not going to know what happened. That's one of the things I love about this game. You've got your boom, 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 you're taking your turns, everything's happening, action, action, action. Then we do some resolving, then we reset everything, get a little time to think, you get a little time to work out your strategies, but overall, you're right back into the action again. The game only takes 60 to 90 minutes, and I would say the first time you play, it's going to be that 90-minute and maybe a little bit more. But from there, if you've played this game with some people who've played it before, you're going to play this game in 60 to 70 minutes, and you're gonna get that big game experience in that 1 hour package, which I think fits a nice little spot in my game collection quite nicely. This narrative is so interesting. I'm so excited to see anything else that they've got coming. More board games, novels, film and TV, who knows? I can't wait to see what else they've got planned for this genre. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you like this, please go give the video a like. It really does help the videos on YouTube. And if you like what we're doing here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Follow along with us. We'd love to have you journey with us. We've got vlogs, we've got overviews, we do previews. We are covering board game stuff as much as we possibly can. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye.